Welcome from the Gold Coast. This is the Australian BYD Owners Weekly Update number 2. From the feedback I had, the first one was very popular, and that's really makes it worthwhile to do. Today's a fairly big update. We got the proposed EV distance road-based tax, an update on that. We've got restrictions on home charging by the Queensland government. Dolphins are finally about to be delivered after all this time. And Seal, I think you've all seen information on the 3 seals that are being delivered. But there is some information that hasn't been put out yet. Good information that really makes that takes away some of the issues that I had. We'll come into that in a minute. For the technical side of things, we're going to be looking at steering torque issues. That's when you accelerate when the car wants to veer. OTA, over-the-air update issues. I've had some issues from the latest one that you may need to be aware of. And I get a lot of questions asked about which regeneration should I have, the standard or which one should I use. And I've also got a BYD Spotlight. So I kind of figured now that BYD's got 3 cars in the running, and I think they may actually overtake Tesla in Australia. It's a big ask, but this Seal is pretty damn good. Although we might learn more about BYD, and I know that there's some information about BYD, but there's a lot of stuff about BYD that isn't common knowledge, and I'd like to bring that to your attention. So let's have a look at this proposed EV tax. Well, actually, it's not so proposed. In Victoria, for a couple of years now, for every kilometre you drive in an EV, battery EV, they've been charging you 2.8 cents per kilometre. And what they do is each year you have to take a photograph. I know you Victorians know about this, but us others probably don't. But every year, when your rego's due, you take a photograph of your trip meter, of your dashboard, to show how many kilometres you've done. And then they charge you 2.8 cents for every one of those. Now, 2.8 cents may not sound like much, but if you've got a car, and I'd say EVs are going to last at least 300,000 kilometres. Let's just work on that basis. Even if they don't put the rate up over the next few years from 2.8 cents, and it's pretty unlikely, but let's say they didn't, and you did 300,000 kilometres, that's $8,400 you'd pay for the privilege of driving an EV. Crazy, eh? Anyway, so a lot of other states were looking at this as well. Western Australia had already planned to bring this in. So did South Australia and New South Wales. Tasmania were looking at it, and Queensland was looking at it as well. So we have a big thank you to 2 people, Christopher Vanderstock and Kathleen Davis, who challenged the tax in the High Court, took to the High Court. About a year ago, a bit over a year ago, and would you believe they won? The High Court ruled that it was unconstitutional and that they can't have it. Now, whether the Victorian government appeals it or not, I don't know, but it's certainly good news. What Victoria was also doing is, if you didn't send in your photos, they'd deregister your car, and there's over 5,000 people got their car deregistered. Some weren't even in the country, and they came back to find that their car was deregistered. So it's good news. I mean, having to pay tax, and when you think about it as well, when these Victorians were driving around in New South Wales and Queensland, as they always do, because they run you off the road, no offence Victorians, they were paying 2.8 cents per kilometre in Queensland and in New South Wales. And in New South Wales, when they're on the toll roads, are paying toll, they're also paying the Victorian government 2.8 cents. It's just a crazy tax. So thank you, Christopher, and thank you, Kathleen, for that. That's absolutely fantastic. Now, moving from the Victorian government to the Queensland government. The Queensland government has ruled, and Energex are implementing and making sure it happens, that wall-mounted EV chargers have to be on a separate circuit, which is called a controlled load circuit. So a controlled load circuit allows them to turn off the power that goes to it if they want to. But the problem is a control load circuit, I understand, costs about $4,000 to put into your house. What makes matters worse is if you've got your wall charger connected to a separate circuit, which is the control load circuit, you can't have your solar plugged into it. So your solar can't go through that. It has to be a dedicated load control circuit. So you might have all the solar panels you like, but you can't use them to charge your car. How crazy is that? Now, if you listen to my words, I think you'll find that other states are going to start doing this as well, because they're worried about about lack of power, I suppose, with the coal fire stations going, but and they want to be able to turn off anybody who wants to charge their car, and force them to go out and charge them in 60 cents a kilowatt. Anyway, but that's if you're thinking about that. If you were connected to, if you just plugged into a normal power point with a normal charger, that's not a wall power. That's not a wall connector. That's not a wall charger. So you went out and bought a 32 amp charger that you plug into a power outlet, and you got the electrician to put in a 32 amp power. That's not a wall charger, and that does not come under that criteria. So I'll leave that to your thoughts. But anyway, how crazy are these governments? And I'm not political at all, and you'll never know my political views. But they tell you to get EVs, and then they charge you road tax for distance travel, or they have it so that you've got to have an expensive wall charger at home that they've got control over. Anyway, we'll move off the government. Dolphins. A few months ago, I went to the launch on the Gold Coast of the Dolphin cars. And, I went the next couple of days later to go for a test drive. Oh, no, you can't have a test drive yet. Won't be till August. Try September. Try October. Actually, it's November. So we'll be able to have our demonstration drives in November. They're going to they're going to start deliveries in early November. So that's good news for the Dolphin people. But gee, I'll tell you what, it's probably not the best organising skills. But anyway, the Seal's been released, as everybody's been telling you, and there's 3 versions, as you probably know. Absolutely unbelievable car. I mean, I'm actually sold. I've put an order in for one, and I don't know what I'm going to do with my 803. I think my wife's going to be selling her Merc, and she's going to be driving an 803 because I can't get rid of it. I can't get rid of the 803. But the Seal is just great. In fact, I couldn't make up my mind between the all-wheel drive and the long-distance one. So I put an order in for both. Anyway, we'll see which one I end up with. They've got some nice colours, some internal colours. They've got blue and black and grey. But what I want to tell you about is something that other people, you all know the prices, and I won't go into all that stuff. And you'll know the spec, or you should, if you're interested in it. But what I will tell you are two things. The glass roof is not it's not removable. It's not, the sunroof is huge, and there's no automated sun blind. In Queensland, it is going to be a hothouse. What they call, it's going to be so hot. It's going to be so hot. But if you have a look at the technical specs, and no one's told us this, but if you look at the technical specs, it actually says that it comes with a removable blind. So you can put a blind in, which I think is pretty good. The other thing that's really good is the heads-up display. On the two top models, the long distance and the performance, all-wheel drive I think they call it, those two models have got a heads-up display, so that the information, so you've got information on the windscreen. And for those of you like me who can't quite read the cruise control and have to put on glasses to read the cruise control speeds and stuff, if you have a look here, they've actually got it up on the windscreen, and it's big and it's not green, because the green's really hard to read. So that's so I think that's pretty good. Okay, steering torque. What is steering torque? A lot of people say that the Atto 3 suffers from steering torque. So what is steering torque? Steering torque is a deviation of the vehicle to the left or to the right when accelerating in a straight line under hard acceleration. So you accelerate and the car veers to the left or to the right. And steering torque is usually an issue of design or faulty equipment. I'm not going to say that when you accelerate hard under with an Atto 3, it doesn't sometimes deviate to the left or to the right, but I'm going to say it doesn't suffer from steering torque. So steering torque's caused by a design flaw or design problem. And if there is some pull to the left or pull to the right under acceleration, it's not to do with the design of the Atto 3. So what happens when you accelerate in a straight line? If one of the wheels loses traction, the other wheel is going to be pulled around. I mean, you can't have a design that stops one wheel from losing traction to the other. I suppose with intelligent software that controls each wheel, then you could probably do that. But I mean, you know, within this price range, you really can't. So if both front wheels do not lose traction and they're in a straight line, the Atto 3 will drive in a straight line, will accelerate in a straight line. So why do some people say that it's steering to the left or to the right when they accelerate? Usually, obviously, it's because one of the tyres are breaking traction. Now that could be that the road surface is slippery. It could also be that the tyres aren't the best. Now I'm not saying that the Batman tyres aren't brilliant. I am saying I've got Continental tyres, but I'm not saying anything's wrong with the Batman tyres. So people who are experiencing in a straight line, veering to the left or to the right, it has to be either the tyres or the road. Now, I have seen a number of people say that under hard acceleration, they've been pulled to the left so violently that they get stuck, that they hit the gutter. And I don't doubt that. I believe that is the case. But it's not steering torque. So when this happens, usually it happens when you have hard acceleration when you've got the wheel turned. So a couple of times I've seen it on Facebook have been when, and in both cases, where a parent lent a car, an 803, to one of their kids, and the kids phoned up and said, "Look, I ran into the gutter. I mean, the car just suddenly, I just turned left, and then suddenly just pulled me into the gutter." So I can tell you what happened. Now, if you're driving in a straight line, the wheels, both wheels, front wheels, go the same distance. If you turn the wheels, you're going to the left or to the right. If you turn the wheels, this side is not going to go as far as this one. This one has to go around further. Now, what happens when one wheel's going faster than the other? It loses traction. Then what happens? So either this one loses traction or this one here loses traction, because this one has got traction and this one is kind of not. Anyway, so what happens? And that's what happened in those cases, I believe. So it's not steering torque, it's under heavy acceleration with the fact that one wheel's going to go faster than the other. So how do you stop it? Well, if you're turning, I'm not saying don't accelerate, normal acceleration is fine, but don't do hard acceleration. So coming out of an intersection and turning left and then just flooring it will guarantee you're going to go into the gutter. Probably you don't want to hear that, but that's the way it is. OTA, over-the-air updates. So in the last update, some people have reported that their screen, when they turn it back on again, their screen was dull. And what you needed to, and it was a problem with the over-the-air update for some cars for some reason. Now, if that's happened to you, just go do a factory reset, and that will fix it. Regeneration. Which regeneration do you use? Do you use the standard, or do you use the advanced? Which one? So one, as we know, you take your foot off the accelerator and you just keep coasting, and the other, you take your foot off the accelerator and it drags all that extra charge back into the battery. Now, it's counterintuitive, but I can tell you there's no difference. The amount of energy you take to get the vehicle up to a speed is the same as the amount of energy that you collect when you reduce it. Actually, not quite, but so I've done a lot of tests with my OBD2 dongle that measures how much power, how much energy goes into the battery and how much goes out of it. And I've gone over 1,000 kilometres in both, and there's absolutely no difference. You will not experience any difference between of your range depending on whether how you got your regeneration. It's just no different. Which one do you choose? Whichever driving style you prefer. If you prefer the driving style of to take your foot off the accelerator and it reduces speed, or if you take your foot off the accelerator and it glides, it's up to you. But you're not going to get better mileage depending on which one you have. EVs in China. And we've heard lots of different things about BYD. And what I want to tell you now, I think we've all heard bits and pieces of BYD, about BYD. But some of the things that I've found out while I was doing this research is really astounding to me. So let's just concentrate on BYD in America. Now, they're not selling cars in America, we all know that. Are they scared of America or something? Who knows? But I'll tell you, they're not. Did you know that they're the largest manufacturer of electric buses in the United States? They have a plant in Los Angeles that where they've got hundreds of thousands of employees. It's a massive complex. They make buses from 23 foot long up to 60 foot long. They make double-decker buses, all powered by battery EVs. All powered by batteries. They've built over 50,000 buses around the world, and a large proportion of those are actually running around in the United States. But you probably already knew that they built buses, and there were some in the United States. But did you also know that they're the largest electric truck manufacturer? They've got three basic specifications of their trucks. They're very powerful. One of them can go up a 30-degree slope, go up 30 degrees. I won't bore you with all the specifications, but they're the largest manufacturer of trucks in the United States. Not Tesla. Tesla's experimenting with them, sure. They've got these fancy trucks and that. But for the last few years, BYD have been building them. In a huge factory. I mean, you can see from here that the number of trucks that they're building and the number of buses that they're building. It's just incredible. So there's no doubt that they're in the business for the long term. Okay, so we know about the buses and we know about the trucks. Did you also know that they make half of the Apple iPads? Yep, in Vietnam. They've got a factory in Vietnam where they make half of the iPads sold around the world by Apple. They're about to spend, I think it's $280 million in a new factory in Vietnam purely to make electronic components. So I assume you guys are owners of BYD and loyal BYD fans. Your loyalty is not misplaced because they're certainly a company that's going places. Now I am a fan of Elon Musk and all the amazing things he's done with SpaceX and the Tesla. I mean, I think it's really I think he's an amazing person. But you've got to say BYD, they just get the job done. They've got the best battery technology in the world. The Seal is just an unbelievable car. The Atto 3, I mean, we all know it's absolutely amazing car to drive. It's the best car I've driven. Haven't driven the Seal yet, but I believe it's going to be better. So I think, so that's what I wanted to say in the spotlight today, was just to put a bit of a spotlight on BYD. So, when people say, what sort of car do you have? When you say, I've got an Atto 3, who make those? BYD, who are they? So you'd say, well, they make half the iPads for Apple. They the biggest bus and truck manufacturer in the United States. And I really think that with the three models that they've got, that they're probably going to come very close to what's the name again? Tesla. I think they're going to come very close to Tesla. In fact, they may even overtake them. Not that there's a huge competition. I think whether people buy Teslas or whether they buy BYDs or any EV. I think it's good. But anyway, there you have it. So I'd like to end this weekly update. So we've gone over lots of things. We've gone over the the various things that the government's trying to do to us. A couple of issues with the ADO 3 itself, and a bit of information about BYD. So what I'm trying to do is to have it that my videos aren't just about one subject that talk for half an hour about one thing. I'm trying to have it so that your time's not wasted, and I hope you appreciate that. Not that you appreciate it. So I hope you can see that.